Not Just a Pony Ride podcast. I'm Emma Bunda, your host, and today I am here with Brittany. We are going to talk everything veterans today. So, Brittany, tell us a little bit about your journey and how you got involved with HETRA.
Thanks, Emma. So a little bit about myself. I am a veteran. I served in the Army from 2011 till 2019. I was military police, so that kind of gives me a pretty unique perspective from the veteran as well as the first responder. But kind of the journey that got me to HETRA, I was on leave in 2015, I think it was. And I just couldn't sit around at home anymore. So I found HETRA and volunteered for essentially 15 days out of the 21 days I was in Omaha. And I volunteered at HETRA, and I was just like, I don't know what this is, but this is what I want to do. So then I finished my time in the military. I was medically retired in 2019, became an OT, and here I am in 2026, and kind of 10 years later, actually, I think it's been.
Yeah, that's awesome. So when you went to OT school, in the back of your head, did you know that you wanted to come back to HETRA, or what did that look like?
I knew. I actually think that HETRA kind of made this trajectory that I'm on. When I was at HETRA, it was that moment of I don't know what this is, but I'm going to do this. And so while I was in Germany, I did everything I needed to do to go to become an OT. And then while I was in OT school, any research opportunity, any project, I was always trying to learn more about how horses are used from an OT perspective. And then my capstone project to get my doctorate was utilizing equines for post-traumatic stress disorder, which goes hand in hand with the veteran and first responder program.
Awesome. So here at HETRA, you're also an OT. You don't just do our veterans and first responders program. You have your own caseload of OT participants. But how did you know that you wanted to kind of take the route using horses for veterans and first responders?
So yes, I am an OT and I carry a full caseload. And that's kind of how I started at HETRA, was just one night a week with a couple of participants, and then end up a couple more nights a week. And then when I came on full time, I wasn't originally hired to do the veterans and first responders programming. It was being ran by another full-time staff member. But I got involved with it, and then it just kind of landed in my lap. And I've been running with it for about a year now. So I don't know. This is where I ended up.
Yeah, awesome. I think it's the perfect spot for you. So working with horses and heroes is quite unique. Is there a specific moment or experience in your background that made you realize just how powerful equine-assisted services could be for this community?
I'm going to go back to that first time at HETRA. One of the days, I don't remember which one or anything. What I do remember is there was a veteran and his spouse that were doing a round penning activity here. And I have some horse experience, but I didn't know what round penning was. And it was just really cool to see that and be like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. I was just hooked from that moment, especially from the veterans and first responders. And I think I carried that with me throughout school.
Right.
And it's just here we are 10 years later, and the more I learn, the more I want to tell that to other people, other veterans, other participants. I just want to get the word out to everybody.
Yeah, awesome. So what is the current veterans and first responders program look like here at HETRA?
So currently we offer a variety of monthly programming. So once a month we offer a coffee hour, and then we have an introduction to equine experience, and then an advanced equine experience. And then we also have done some partnerships with some other veteran organizations to offer either a one-time equine experience for their veterans, or we've also done a 4-week program.
Cool. So what does the coffee hour and the equine experiences look like? Why do we run both of them? What is the difference and what is their purpose?
So the coffee hour, I kind of think of it as the lowest barrier. The registration form is super, like, very short and sweet. Just sign a basic waiver. And then there's no expectation. So it's just kind of a come, have coffee with us, have a treat, and then we can sit and talk. And I like to talk, so I can tend to fill the space. But then there's also no expectation for them to talk if they're not comfortable. It's kind of a good way to just get the feel for HETRA. And if they're scared of horses, there isn't a horse component, except for we might be outside overlooking our pastures, which they're 20, 30 feet away, so no real close interaction. Or we can watch our conditioning team or programming, depending on the time. So it can be a good entry point for those who might be scared of horses or maybe a little bit unsure of what HETRA has to offer. And then we have our equine experiences. So we offer an introductory and then an advance. We require anybody that's interested in the advance to go through the introductory because it's kind of that, it's an introductory. It's, well, let's get up close with these horses in a nice controlled way. And Armyism is a crawl, walk, run. And that's what we do.
Yep.
So they show up and the crawl is like, we do some herd dynamics. Like you're not up on them, but it's nice and comfortable, and you can see how they communicate from a comfortable distance before we get into the walk, where it's like, okay, let's get a little closer, let's groom them, let's do something else. And then the run is like, okay, here's the lead rope. We're going to teach you how to lead this 1,200-pound animal.
And I think that was an important thing you just said. This is what they're used to, that crawl, walk, run.
Yes.
So that, I think that's important translation of why we do that here, right?
Yeah, because in the military and for first responders, like there's training, like everything is laid out. If you just if I handed a lead rope to a veteran or a first responder, they'd probably look at me and be like, okay,
what's the protocol?
What's the mission? Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
That can be that's anxiety, gives me anxiety.
Right.
Like sometimes if I get the lead rope and I'm like, okay, what am I doing? Like we're just so used to that direction that sometimes when it's not there, then it becomes more anxiety, more all the other things.
Right.
So that's that crawl, walk, run. It's really focused on the horses because the horses do their job. They know they're going to teach whatever lesson that veteran needs to learn. And I don't know what that lesson is.
Right.
The horses are going to do it.
Yep.
And we end every session with a takeaway because leading a 1,200-pound animal, you're not leading a 1,200-pound animal outside of HETRA unless you work with horses. So what did you learn from this experience? And they always have some kind of takeaway that I didn't expect. So then that goes into the advanced course, and the advanced course is to work on those more advanced skills. So it might be advanced leading, it can be ground games, it can be round penning, and the idea is the goal is continued personal growth. So what did you learn from the introductory? How can we build on that with this particular activity? Is it better communication, better presence, learning to take that deep breath before going into a stressful situation? Again, everybody has kind of their own takeaway and their own experience. We just had one this weekend, and one person compared round penning to communicating in her new management team. And I'm like, interesting. I wouldn't have made that connection, but that's a connection she needed to make.
Yeah. And I think that that's such a awesome theme because everyone who knows anything about equine-assisted services, we know that horses have that effect on us, but it seems like our horses almost speak a little bit louder to our veterans and first responders in a way. And I love watching that. For the couple times that I've been to veterans and first responders programs, they all just seem very moving, and everyone walks away very moved by it.
Yeah, it's really interesting, especially for that introductory course, just because we keep them small. Like max is about 4 people, and they all walk in kind of quiet, hard again to talk, especially to answer like the herd dynamic questions. But then by the end, when it's like, okay, well, we're done, we can go ahead and wash our hands and wrap up, it almost never fails that we're standing around talking for at least a half hour, 45 minutes afterwards.
Yeah. That's awesome. So our monthly events are free and open to families, spouses, caregivers. How does involving the entire support system change the dynamic and impact of the program?
So the lifestyle that comes with military or first responders, it doesn't impact just the individual that's serving. It impacts the entire family. Something I didn't mention is I'm also a spouse. My husband did 20 years in the military. We are technically dual military when we were both in. He's since also retired. But even me, as somebody who grew up in the military, when I had to be the person to stay home and my husband was deployed or sent away for TDY or being sent away for whatever reason,
Mhm.
I had to run the household. I had to figure out how to be in that space by myself. I actually ended up dog sitting because I couldn't be by myself because you're away from your support system.
Right.
So a lot of times, at least from the veteran and the active duty side, like these spouses are away from their support system. So HETRA can be that support if they need it. Otherwise, if it's a spouse and the service member that come, they get to have a positive, like lived experience together that they can reflect on.
Yeah.
And again, they get that chance to kind of take away what it is that they need for their relationship.
Right. And I feel like I've seen a couple times more of the vibe of my wife really wanted to do this, so I came, which I also think is very moving because they're still getting things out of it that they didn't even know were possible. They didn't even want to come. They might not even spark their interest naturally, but their spouse was like, let's go do this. And you're like, okay, fine. And then they end up being really moved by it, which I think is even better.
100%. I'm pretty sure my spouse would tell you that I enroll him into things all the time.
And it pays off.
It does.
So our monthly days are completely free for participants and their families. For other nonprofits wondering how we do this, what does HETRA do to make this possible for our participants?
So yes, the coffee hour and the advanced and intro course are free for veterans to and their family members to participate in. This is completely covered through donors, grants, sponsors, and then of course fundraising. And we value that because we don't want finances to be a barrier for this particular population.
Looking back over the last year, what is something that went incredibly well or a specific milestone that our veterans and first responders reached that you are proud of?
So I've been overseeing this program for about a year now, and I kind of revamped it. So I think that in itself is a pretty big milestone. I've kind of got to see the changes take effect, and starting to really make some good connections with our veteran population and first responder population, as well as other organizations, which I mean, I can't touch all the veterans, but if I can touch other organizations, then my reach can get a little further. But I think a milestone that I'm pretty proud of at this point is that advanced veterans experience. Um, it was a little bit slow to take off just because we require the introductory course first. So it was a smaller pool to pull from. But the last two times we've held it, we've seen increased population coming or like returning for that advance, which tells me that they're building trust, they're building connection with us, and they're very interested in learning more about what HETRA and what these courses can offer them.
Yeah, that's awesome. On the flip side of that, all of our growth comes with hurdles. So, what are some of the unique challenges you faced in this last year? And I guess even more on the side of what challenges does working with this population bring? Because I feel like I've heard you say transportation and finances and things along those lines. So,
With any population, there's always going to be challenges. I think with the veterans and first responders, one, they're different. So the veteran has a lived experience from when they were in active duty, and that is behind them at this point. Or maybe they're fighting some kind of demons that are currently with them from that lived experience. Active duty, they're in the fight and they're trying to balance that, life with active duty life. But then first responders are in that fight day to day. So I think it can be really hard. This population has its challenges. A lot of times the veterans, first responders, active duty members, they don't seek resources. There's a lot of stigma related to seeking out mental health. And I think a lot of the equine assisted services focus on the mental health, which is why I'm a big proponent for mental health. That's why I work here, because this is for my mental health.
Right.
But the horses do it. I'm not going to focus and tell them that they need to work on mindfulness and deep breathing and grounding techniques and everything. I'm going to let the horse teach them what they need to be taught. And I think that approach has really helped. Just staying visible in the community is sometimes pretty challenging because we're in Gretna and our military population is really, 30 minutes down the road. And the road that it is 55 miles per hour and a lot of stoplights. And so that becomes a barrier. And then transportation, finances. I mean, there's so many different hurdles to have to go through. But I think as an industry, we can't let those hurdles block us from providing these well-needed services. Like, we have to be there for this population for when they're ready to ask for that help.
For sure. And I think that that's something that I've seen with the Veterans Program is that we have our layout and what's worked in the past and new ideas. But I think the most important thing is that we've stayed consistent. Like you said, it took a while for that advanced program to take off, but we were consistent and kept going with our introductory until we got to that point where people were comfortable and coming back and signing up for that advanced experience. And I think that that's super awesome.
I've really tried to value or put focus on building trust, building relationships. And I think if you just do that, the numbers come, because then people talk to other people and they see what you do. And it's like, okay, I know this is going to be a 45-minute drive, but it's going to be worth it.
Yep. I think something else I wanted to toss out there is how we market our programming. Like you said before, I think a lot of other equine assisted services with veterans will just be like, mental health with horses. And I think that can be kind of jarring for veterans to see that on a flyer. I don't think it's super appealing. So what do we kind of do different to market for this population?
So what we do is I keep it pretty focused on the horse. I might throw we're going to work on connection or trust or communication. Those words might be in there, but the focus is on the horse. And then I do list the activities that we do that day just to help reduce that anxiety of oh, well, I've never been around a horse. I don't know how to do this. No big deal. This is what we're going to do. So we do a lot of social media. I do what do you call it? Silly thing. Newsletter.
Oh, yes. Newsletter.
Yep. I do a newsletter. Monthly to try to stay in front of the veteran population, just to keep them, and it's all focused on veterans. So whether it's an article about what the introductory course looks like or how equine assisted services can help them, and then includes things that are coming up, whether it's that monthly event or if it's a specialty program with a partnership with another organization. And I've also included some supports from other organizations because I recognize that HETRA can't do it all.
Right.
So check out this organization and check out that organization. And then the last thing that I try to do is try to keep communication from myself. Me being the veteran, I'm building those relationships. I'm building that trust. If it comes from me, it's a recognized name versus if it comes from Gail or Edie or Emma or HETRA at hetra.org.
Right.
Then it's spam or sent off, less attention is focused on it.
That's a good point. And I think when you're sending those resources to, you're building that rapport and that trust. And then when that communication keeps coming from you versus how we do with other programs where Gail, our registration lady, will message. But I think that that's a really good point, is to keep it within you and that kind of circle of trust that you've built. Is there anything differently that we've done or you have done when we're looking at our volunteers and our staff that help you with these programs?
Not really. I think what helps this particular program is my lived experience.
Mm-hmm.
We do have one volunteer that we try to focus on getting her to help, and she is a veteran herself, and she's been with HETRA for a number of years. Like she found HETRA through our veterans program, and so now she's a volunteer, and
Mm-hmm.
she helps me a lot within our veteran program. Um, but aside from that, there's not really much additional training. I think maybe as the program goes, we might look into some additional training.
Yeah.
But for now, just keeping it, just we show up for who we are.
Yep. I feel like we try and keep it kind of consistent volunteers and we keep it smaller. And I think even that, until we are needing to do a specific training, I think even just that consistency and that smaller group of volunteers is helpful and makes it feel more homey and less like, wow, I'm at this thing I've never been to, and all these people I don't know are just looking at me do it.
Right. I would say we're pretty selective of who we select from a volunteer's perspective. Just because you never know what could get brought up, and we want to make sure that the volunteer is comfortable with whatever topic that gets brought up. But then I've also kind of learned through trial and error that less is more.
Right.
With this particular population, I want the least amount of people out there possible to keep everything safe.
Yep. Awesome. Without names, is there a specific breakthrough story from a participant this past year that perfectly encapsulates why we do this?
So I have probably a bunch to choose from, but it's just that each story is just different. Every person takes away something that I didn't think about. There was one that I think will probably live with me for the rest of my life. This particular individual, she had a hard time setting boundaries. And how the horse knew, I couldn't tell you. But this horse knew, and this horse would not get out of her space. And that was what she had to work on, was getting that horse. And she really struggled getting him out of her space until something just clicked and she got him out of her space. And then he was like, oh, okay, you actually need it now. And at the end, she was like, that is something that I struggle with, is setting a boundary. And I was just like, I was just blown away by how this horse knew.
Yep. And I think that even more than the fact that they know is that they know when we don't really mean it, or when we're trying really hard but we're not quite there yet, like it's not natural for us, and they don't give us what we want until we mean it and we feel it in our own body. And I think that makes it even more special. They're really good at calling our bluff.
That they are, but then they're also good at meeting us where we are in the right way. Because I had another veteran who was older and had some cognitive issues, and the horse that we were working with, like when the volunteer had him, he was being his quirky self and maybe not fully paying attention like he should have. But the moment that veteran stepped forward, he became the most stoic, well-behaved horse, and I was just blown. Again, the horses just blow my mind every time we work with them, because they just know what is needed in that moment and they just do it.
Yep. I think, and that's the thing that speaks loudest to all of our participants, I think. But you don't have to be a certain way to show up. You don't have to say anything special, or you know what I mean? You just have to be here, be open, and the horses will show you the rest. And I think that is the coolest thing.
Yeah, just come as you are.
Yep. So looking forward, what do you envision our Veterans and First Responders program moving towards over the next year or two? And what are your big dreams or upcoming shifts you have planned?
I have a lot of ideas. I have a full, I don't know if you call it a vision board or something, but basically it's like everything I keep in my brain put on paper. It's kind of hard, but I think my next step is trying to offer some specialty style programming where it's deployed spouses retreat where deployed spouses can come out and have like their opportunity with the horses within that realm. Maybe like there's April's the month of the military child, so maybe offering a specific mini camp for military children. I've also toyed around with the idea of like having an outside person coming in to do a training, whether it's like a sleep training, mindfulness training, or something along those lines, but then pairing it with the horses. So again, looking at that partnership. I think my ultimate goal for our veterans and first responders program is to have something that's offered on a weekly basis that you can start to build that community. And so it's like, okay, I can't be there for coffee hour Friday, but the following Friday is the introductory course and I can be there for that. Or I can't be there for that, but the following Friday is something else. Like, so there's always an entry point and always HETRA's always welcoming.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. Lastly, if there is a veteran, active duty member, or first responder listening right now who is hesitant to fill out that inquiry form, whether it's here or at a different center, what would you say to them?
Take the leap and fill it out. I get it can be scary with the unknowns, but if you're even remotely interested in it because it's different or you just like being outside, like I can guarantee you if it's not HETRA, if it's any other center that's like HETRA, the person on the other end receiving that inquiry form is going to be very excited and do whatever they can to get you started. I did have a veteran reach out once that had pretty like auditory defensiveness, like loud, unexpected loud noises were pretty hard for her. So I set up a time in our barn where I knew it was quiet. I gave her some heads up of like, there's construction going on outside. Just a heads up. I can't control that. But this time there's no one in the barn. It's going to be as quiet as we can make it. Like, come out and let's talk. And we did that. And I can't say if she joined or not, but I will say like centers will find what they can do within their limits.
Yep. And I think that that's really important too, is that we're willing to accommodate and be flexible, and we just want to share our horses and what we know that our horses will bring to a program or to a participant's life. We just want to be able to share that with everyone.
Yeah.
And for our other centers listening, if they are thinking about starting a veterans program or kind of navigating all the pros and cons, what would be your biggest piece of advice for them?
I think the biggest piece of advice I'd give is, I'm going to give two. You get a freebie.
Perfect.
The first one is find a veteran. Find a veteran that believes in what you do because they are going to speak volumes to your program. Even if it hasn't started yet, if you have a veteran that's a volunteer or a veteran that is a staff member, like I think they will be your connection to the community. And then the other thing is, don't be afraid to reach out to other centers that appear to have a successful veteran program, because we're not in this alone. Like, you know, HETRA has been around for 35 plus years and we have lived experiences and we've learned from those. And there's other centers who have been around longer or maybe less longer that maybe have a more vibrant and more diverse veterans program. So not being afraid to reach out to other centers to get that 2 cents or different ideas of how to grow your program.
For sure. And I think that was kind of my main goal with this podcast, was to say, hey, this is what we're doing right now. This is what it looks like, because it has changed and it's probably going to keep changing, right? Our community needs are always different and what our participants need is always different. But I think that that's the most important thing that we keep doing, is we keep growing with that.
Yeah, I think that's exactly, you're totally right. Like what we're doing right now, I don't think will be what we're doing in 10 years. I hope it looks bigger and better, but you never know.
Right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Brittany, for joining me today.
That's all for today. Don't forget to check the show notes below to get plugged in with us on our socials. This podcast is brought to you by HETRA University, the educational arm of the Heartland Equine Therapeutic Riding Academy in Gretna, Nebraska. Our mission is to deliver high-quality educational resources to the EAS community. To explore everything we have to offer, visit us at www.hetrauniversity.org. Thanks for hanging out with us. Until next time, keep changing lives one stride at a time.